All right, I wanted to give a quick update on a short test that I did today using the hyperspectral camera. And this was the scene that I tried to record, or that is to say, this tarp was flat and not like this. But it was a staircase, maybe 8 or 9 meters above ground, and then I used this reference tarp and a few objects that I wanted to image. And after taking this into the software for working with hyperspectral images and doing a little bit of processing on it, I have this result. So you can see here this uh, divide, the two gray parts of the reference tarp. And then further down, there's a life jacket, a red helmet, a blue helmet, a kind of leather tool belt, and then a blue canvas bag. And if we try to look at the spectra for these different parts, let me try to click here in the light gray area. And we can see that this is pretty flat on the upper right side here. So for the lower wavelengths, between between 400 and 800 approximately, it's pretty flat. And then above that, it looks very spiky, but that's mainly noise. So there in the original image, there was very little signal here and mostly noise, and that noise has been kind of amplified. So don't care too much about that. And then we also have three lines here, a blue, green, and red one. And these lines indicate the wavelengths that are used to kind of extract a RGB image, a color image like the one we're seeing here. And we could move these around to different wavelengths, but this is a kind of default setup that gives an image that looks kind of what we usually see. And now it's kind of interesting. Okay, so the gray parts here, they are pretty flat, not that interesting, but let's have a look at, for example, the blue bag down here. And this is a quite an interesting spectrum that has a very clear peak on the reflected light on that you can see has it hits this blue line very clearly, and there's very little light reflected on the green and red wavelengths that are displayed, and that's why it looks blue to us. Um, Now let me try the red helmet. Ooh, all right. Just a moment. I'll try to adjust this the vertical range of the plot a little bit. Let's try like this. Okay. So here we can see that there's quite little light reflected for blue and green, but a lot for red. And there's this sharp transition here. So all the way up here into the infrared, there's a lot of reflected light, but very little for blue and green colors. Um, let's try this light blue helmet over here. It wasn't as clearly blue as the bag, but again you see the kind of more blue light than the other two colors. And for the tool belt, you can see it's not just one color, but there's very little blue and then some green and more red, kind of ramp here. And it reflects the most in the infrared. uh, and finally, I put this life jacket out here, and it turns out that this life jacket just reflects too much light. It's it has saturated the sensor. Let's see if we can see that clearly. Uh, all right, I think I in the processing that has kind of disappeared. Maybe I can show you the original image instead. Let's see. Let's see. No, here. All right. So if I press here and we then adjust the Y range, just a moment. Ah, oh, I'm sorry. Maybe I was mistaken. Uh, I thought I thought it saturated the sensor. Maybe it didn't. At least it has this very clear peak, kind of between the green and red line here. So at maybe 600 nanometers. Um, okay, sorry for that. Poor research. But anyway, I find it kind of interesting to see how these change. I can try to maybe keep that spectrum. Okay, there we see the saturated sensor. I wasn't wrong after all. You see this flat plateau on top here. That's not a real physical spectrum, that's saturation. But a little bit to the side, maybe it's okay. No, it's not really. Okay, it is saturated. Uh, all right, just a moment. Let's take a look at the other ones. Or again, I'm sorry. Let me remove that. Um, Let me go back to the image that we had. So there is some saturation here, but if we don't care about that, let's look at the red one, add that spectrum, and the blue helmet, add that spectrum, this leather tool belt, add that spectrum, and the blue bag. And we can see on the right side here kind of all the different fingerprints for each spectrum here. And visually the noise in the infrared to the right here dominates a little bit, but maybe the most reliable information or significant to us is in the left side here, where we can see how things are kind of either mainly reflect in the blue end of the spectrum or in the red end. All right, I think that's enough rambling from me. Thanks for listening.